Welcome back to the Bluegrass and this beautiful October afternoon. This is episode 4 in our new series, Teaching My Son to Train Protection Dogs, and we have a lot of dogs for you to look at today, okay? Back up and show them what we got right here, cameraman. Look, we've got a couple German short-haired pointers and a wire-haired pointing Griffon. Of course, we got Mr. No Name. And the point of me showing you these other dogs that are running around is that is a testament to George's hard work this month with Lexi, this Dutch Shepherd, okay? Now, the common theme throughout this series is going to be if you're training protection dogs, you know, guard dogs, police dogs, whatever, our goal is to maximize the utilitarian value of the dogs in those roles while simultaneously minimizing the liability. I know some of you click on these videos and you're looking for the bite work portion, okay? But that's kind of the easy portion, and there's lots of that on YouTube. I'm trying to fill in a little hole here, you know, and try to bring attention to some things that sometimes people don't think about, okay? Which is if you don't have a well-socialized dog that's got good fundamental obedience, then you can't really take them out in the world with you to kind of do their job as a protection dog or even a police dog in a lot of circumstances, because taking the dog out in public incurs an amount of liability that you know, nobody really is comfortable with if they're going to be the ones paying the bill when things go wrong. So we're going to move over here to the Exercise with Small Challenges course, and I'm going to have George work his dog simultaneously while I work the trainers that are here for boarding, okay? And what you'll notice with George is that he's trying to keep his dog moving in the right direction as it relates to the dog doesn't have to be perfectly friendly to every other dog, but it has to at least be indifferent. If you're going to take a dog, a Dutch Shepherd, a Malinois, a working bloodline German Shepherd out into public, you know, maybe the dog's not going to love everybody. Maybe it's not going to love every dog. Maybe it's not going to be able to go to the dog park, okay? But it should come when you call it, be still when you tell it, have good manners, and it should also refrain from doing things that are dangerous, destructive, and rude. Now, what you hear in the background, okay, is a couple of Dobermans. And the reason to have Dobermans here is because of George also, because he wanted to train some cool dogs. So we'll walk them on the course and we'll kind of give you an idea of what all this looks like when you put it together. Okay, so the first couple of things I want you to notice is, number one, George has done a fantastic job getting Lexi moving along in a remedial socialization program. She's sitting up here and row-ho and bullet her around her, and she's just doing great, okay? And if you watch last week's video, you'll see we had her out with the black labs doing black lab therapy, which is the most important thing you can do when you're rehabbing an old grouchy dog. Now, the other thing I want you to notice is that George is starting to dress like a professional dog trainer, okay? So let's take a look at how George is dressed, all right? He's got a nice outdoor shoes on. He's got his training vest. He's got his marker and his whistles, which is cool. He's got a nice custom hat that a lady that I'm friends with sent him. It says George Dennis Dog Trainer on the back. Everybody needs a little shirt or a hat, you know, when they're getting started. Go ahead and get your dog off the table. But we're gonna walk around, and George is gonna walk in front of me sometimes. He's gonna walk behind me sometimes. And the point of this exercise is to teach his dog to focus under high levels of distraction. When Lexi first got here, you couldn't have a dog behind her because she's constantly turning around. She's worried. She's turning around and trying to snap at him. And kind of if you had one that was in front of her, she wanted to compete with it and outrun it or bully it, okay? So we're going to kind of walk through a bunch of dogs, and what I want you to notice is that Lexi has made a tremendous amount of progress. So if you're going to comment at all, okay, you can say bad things about me, but I would appreciate it if you look at George and the progress he's made. If you can't post a video where you've done better, don't say anything about George, okay? That's a kind of a simple rule for me. Come on, nerd, come on. Now, it's a little bit late in the day, and so these short hairs might be a little bit lackadaisical, but all in all, like, they're pretty good dogs. This is Rojo, and Rojo is one of the nicest German short hairs that I've ever had here. He's a really good dog, and he was actually bred here in Winchester. I can't remember the guy's name, but he does a really good job. Okay, now, so George is going to come on up behind me. I'm going to wait here because I want him to be able to get right up here behind me, like in a file. Because I want you to stop and think about it. What good would a protection dog be if George couldn't be out in public where other people have dogs? You know, right? And those dogs, they're not all going to mind like on the training field, right? Some of them are going to like come over and take liberties with Lexi's space. Some of them are going to jump on George. And so it takes a lot of socialization to make a protection dog useful from a utilitarian standpoint, okay? And I want you to really think about that word that I keep using, utilitarian. Going to the training field And having someone dress up in a suit, okay, and make funny movements in order to entice your dog to chase and bite them is not the same thing as training a dog to have a utilitarian value in terms of protecting oneself or one's family. Okay, and that's what we're going to get into later in this series, is how to do scenario training and properly utilize the dog's natural instinct and to maximize their deterrent value. Okay, so George is doing pretty well here. We're going to make it through the course, and then I'm going to switch dogs, and I'm going to let George lead, and I'm going to walk the dog up real close, maybe even bump into him sometimes with the other dog. All right, now this dog here's kind of an interesting dog, guys. This dog's name is Aspen. And she's a Malinois Great Pyrenees mix from Washington, D.C. And she's here trying to learn how to be friendly. She's doing a little bit of remedial socialization. So George, go ahead and put your dog up on the table for a minute. Now, putting Lexi up next to Rojo is pretty easy. Rojo's a young male dog, so that's kind of easy. We've got to be really careful with Aspen. See how Aspen's kind of smelling her here, and you see how Aspen laid her ears back? See how Lexi's ears are laid back a little bit? A lot of times, like you'll see a little bit more conflict between these older dogs or dogs of a similar type. Dogs of the same sex can have some trouble. And Aspen, she's kind of needy too. You know, like Aspen has attached herself to me. At first she was a little bit scared of being here. Then she attached herself to me, and now she doesn't want other people to get my attention, you know. So we're going to work through that this week. Okay, all right, George, you can go ahead and get your dog down. I'll get one of these other dogs. I'll actually get Aspen. Oh, come here, Aspen. Okay. So George is going to go ahead of me, and then I'm going to walk Aspen, who's a little bit under-socialized, right up behind him, and we'll see if George can manage his dog, and I'm going to try to manage mine. Okay, go kind of slow, Georgie. I'm going to get right up here behind you. Slow down just a little bit. Okay, now, so back to my idea about, wait, Georgie, about having a protection dog is like, let's say that you're in an urban area, and maybe it's, a little bit sketchy on like crime. You take your dog with you. Somebody else has a dog there, and you end up trying to go through somewhere, and the dog's right behind. Right? You can't have your dog turning around and snapping. Right? Your dog's got to be able to handle that. It's got to be able to handle this dog coming right up and bumping into it. Okay, you see that? I don't know if y'all can see that, right? But if not, I mean, I don't know, like zoom in on her or something. But Lexi just gave this dog the biggest evil eye you've ever seen. I was trying to pull Aspen over here, and Lexi turned around and gave her like the most meanest, didn't she, Georgie? Yeah. She looked. There's a lot of little stuff that goes on between dogs that you might not notice. So I try to show you that as much as I can here in the videos. Okay, Georgie, go ahead and go on. Now y'all notice Rojo's went over here and got in a boat because he wants to go back to the pond. All right, good. All right, slow down there on the steps. I'm going to walk right up behind you. Okay, so we got Aspen. We'll see if we can get her on the teeter-totter. Now this has been kind of hard with Aspen because again, she's a little bit under-socialized, but I'm happy she's made big progress. Wait, right there. There you go. Now wait right as you go up on your dog walk. What I want to do is walk this dog. Go ahead and go up a little ways. I want to walk this dog, wait, right there. I want to walk this dog up so that, like, this is if you have a protection dog that freaks out when another dog comes up and smells it, you're never going to be able to go in a high population density area, okay? And so then the dog's not going to be able to protect you because you're going to have to leave it at home in this little plastic prison. Go ahead, Georgie. Very nice. Come on, Aspen. Now, Aspen, her owner is in medical school, and like she lives, like I said, in D.C. And Aspen, she's a kind of a funny dog, and she's not pure Malinois, but she's got some Malinois tendencies, right? She's decided that there's like maybe one or two people that she doesn't like, and she kind of does that with dogs too. There's just one or two dogs here and there that she doesn't like. So you have to be prepared for that, guys. If you buy a Malinois, a Dutch Shepherd, a Belgian Shepherd, some working bloodline German Shepherds, man, they attach themselves to you and they form in-group, out-group preferences very quickly. Okay, so one of the things we really struggle with Aspen is like she likes, say 20 dogs that are here, and then she doesn't like 2 or 3, and so we have to manage her differently when she's around those 2 or 3 dogs. You might say, well, Stonnie, you're supposed to be a good trainer. Why don't you just fix that? Well, because I ain't that good a trainer, I mean, I can't make a dog be something that it's not. You can't always take these dogs and make them like certain things. So what you do is you make them like as many things as you can, and then you try to get them to be indifferent towards the rest and at least be able to, you know, have good manners. Okay, back on the table, Georgie, and I'll try to put my dog up there beside you, and we'll grab another one. Okay, that's pretty good. Now, we'll get Bullet down. I'm going to try to get Aspen to sit right up here beside. Now, this right here, this kind of stuff right here, guys, this is dangerous. I don't recommend that you do it because those two dogs could go to fighting, being up there in that kind of close proximity. But we are professionals, you know, so again, this is one of those things, you shouldn't do it. Just watch us do it, probably be best. Very nice. Now, this is Kenai. She's, and I might be saying that wrong. There's this place up in Alaska called Kenai, I don't know. K-E-N-I-A. What is it, Amy? K-E-N-I. No, K-E-N-A-I. Listen, I'm a hillbilly. I can't spell. What am I going to do? Right, okay. So anyway, she's moving to Alaska. And so she's here for our adventure training package so that, you know, once these guys get to Alaska, she'll be able to hit the ground running. Go salmon fishing, bear hunting, whatever they do in Alaska. Okay, who should I walk next, Georgie? I'm going to walk Millie. All right, now we're going to use Millie for this drill because Millie is a real outgoing and friendly little dog. And when you're doing remedial socialization, it's very important that you find some dogs that even grouchy dogs don't mind, okay? And that's why we usually start off with what we call black lab therapy, because no matter how grouchy a dog is, they generally like our black labs, don't they, George? Yeah. And George laughs about this because my dog No Name and Henry, both of them, like they can have an old mean dog that tries to beat them up, and they'll just kind of wiggle and get close to them and wiggle and be like, you love me, you know you love me, you know you love me. And eventually they break them down, don't they, Georgie? Yeah, now part of that is No Name's a real strong and powerful dog, because so he ain't easy to whoop, you know what I mean? And so other dogs try to whoop him some, and he just is like, whatever, you can't whoop me and you can't make me not love you. You know, he's kind of like Jesus, I guess. So what we're going to work on here is a variation. We've done Lexi leading and we've done Lexi following. Now we're going to do what we call pass-bys. So I'll go ahead and get up here and get stationed. Come on, Georgie, behind me. I'm going to walk up here. I'm going to put Millie on these steps. And what's going to happen is George is going to walk his dog up and past Millie. This is called a pass-by. So we're trying to make sure that Millie is good with other dogs and people in the broadest range of environmental conditions and situations, right? So the dog might be in front of her and a dog might be behind her. And a lot of people work on those two things in class. They'll kind of get in a little line and they'll do like elephant tails, where like one dog is right behind the next, you know, and they'll walk circles and semicircles and squares and stuff. And that's okay, that's cool. But often neglected thing is to do walking pass-bys. So Georgie, show them a walking pass-by. I'm going to move my dog over just a little bit so George has plenty of room. So that's a walking pass-by, guys. Now George is going to go up there and we're going to do a variation of a walking pass-by in a narrow situation, only I'm going to take my dog and I'm going to probably let her go underneath Lexi, okay? Because these, again, are all things that are going to pop up in real life. All right, so there's George. He's got his dog in a good position. I'm going to give my dog a little treat and kind of lead her specifically into this area in between Lexi's legs. So this is walking pass-by with a small, like, added element of going under, okay? And you might say, well, Stonnie, what's the point of that? Guys, listen, if you go out in public, somebody's dog is going to get off the leash and it's going to run over underneath your dog. And if you have a tall, big, strong dog like Lexi, if that dog's underneath her and Lexi reaches down, she's going to end up getting her right by the neck or the back of their head, and that's not going to be a pretty sight, you know. She's going to harm the other dog, or like the owner of the dog is going to get in the middle of it. I mean, it can just be a mess. Trust me. I'm not talking about this stuff like it's made up, guys. I've literally seen all of those things happen. There's basically no version of a dog fight or like a dog bite to a human that I haven't seen or my friends haven't seen. You got to realize, all my friends have had mean dogs for a long time, ever since I was a little kid, you know. So, like, don't be talking your nonsense in your Facebook groups about what I don't know about dogs biting people or killing other dogs, because I've seen a lot more than you have, trust me. Come on, Millie, get up here. Very nice. Okay, all right, so we've done leading, we've done following, and we've done pass-bys. Oh my gosh. Now we'll do some static exercises. Now, who do I have? Who have I not walked yet? Dobermans?
Yeah.
I did Aspen.
You want to walk some GSPs?
I did Aspen, I did Rojo.
Oh, you did do Rojo. That's all.
I did Millie. Hey, Doberman, come here. Now what we're going to work on is what we call static pass-bys. The point of this drill is to gradually increase George's ability to influence his dog at a distance, okay? What you have to realize, if you have a protection dog and you go out in public, you're not always going to be able to sit here and hold on to their leash like this, okay? So you need to know that if you're going to go get a soft drink, or if you're going to, you know, talk to some friends of yours, or go watch your kids, you know, get some playing time on the soccer field, that your dog is safe and is safe at a distance, okay? So George is going to walk ahead of me and he's going to place his dog on a stay. Now, we don't really care about the posture right now. We can work on that later. We do care that the dog maintain the position that George establishes as I walk by with another dog. Okay, so it's a very simple drill, and it's just a variation on leading, following, and pass-bys. Okay, this is just what we call a static pass-by. The dog has to remain in a static position as I pass by with another dog. Come on. Now we're going to use Justice. I'm going to have to go back to using some treats with Justice because she's only been here for a few days, right? And I'm going to walk up and over past Lexi and then behind. And right here is, if Lexi's going to get up, this will be where she gets up. So she did not get up. I'm going to wait and give George a chance to walk over in front of the steps and kind of put his dog on a stay again. And we're just going to, you know, we're going to kind of repeat this pattern throughout the course. So I'll give George just a second to get his dog situated. Very nice. Oh, now look at Bullet. Bullet's come over here and he says, well, I want some camera time, Stonnie, you know. All right, so here's Justice. Now we might have, like I said, Justice has only been here for a few days. So I'm going to have to kind of baby her through the walking up and over the teeter-totter, tease her a little bit. Look at Bullet. These German short hairs, they think they need to be in everything at all times. Very nice. Good. Okay. Now I gave her a fat treat there because that's the best she's ever done on the teeter-totter. And when you give them a fat treat, you have to give them time to eat. And I'm going to come up and over. And I'm going to go nice and easy. Don't want to make any rapid movements here. If I make rapid movements, then I'm going to kind of interfere in George's drill. Walk by very calmly, very passively. Get up on the high dog walk. Ask my dog to stay and give George a chance to reposition his dog. I'll give her a treat. And since we're waiting on Georgie, I can kind of give her some fat treats and give her plenty of time to eat. These static pass-by drills require a lot of patience in the beginning, and they require that everybody involved takes a nice calm demeanor. Okay, back on up, cameraman, so you can see where George's dog is. Now, George is trying not to face his dog. Go ahead and turn around and face her so you can influence her just a little bit better. Now, what our normal rule is, guys, is we do not face dogs when we're asking them to stay because, come on, nerd, because we don't need dogs to stay when we have time to look at them. We need dogs to stay when we're busy. But since Lexi's in a remedial socialization program, then she needs all the supervision she can get. All right, so I'm going to bring my little dog up here and have her stay. And George, you go ahead and go over there on the mimic table. And what we'll probably do here, since Lexi seems to be doing very well, just depending on how she seems to react when I walk by with Justice, okay, I might actually try to make Justice stay on the mimic table beside Lexi. Up, up, up. Very nice. Very nice. Up. Good. Up, up. Up. Now Lexi seems to be doing pretty well, so I'm going to come over here and I'm going to walk my dog up on the mimic. Now the reason we call these mimic table, guys, is because what happens here is I do things on one table and then I have people mimic me on the other table. Good. So I'm going to ask Justice to stay, and I'm going to go ahead and hold on to Justice's leash because I knew that would happen. I knew she would get up. Like I said, she hasn't been doing this very long. Okay, and so I can't expect too much out of her. So this right here is a good example, guys, of the difference, you know, just a few weeks makes. Justice has just been here a few days, maybe a week or two, I don't know. And George has been working with Lexi a little bit longer. Now, remember I told you earlier, we weren't going to really stress posture. I think a big mistake people make with these dogs is they stress posture a little bit too early. So you see how Lexi is over there and Aspen's kind of looking at her funny, but she's staying staying. Justice is over here pretty close to her. She's staying. She doesn't look thrilled, but she's staying, and that's the big important part. If we fussed at her for not maintaining the sit posture, then we kind of would have lost the essence of the exercise, okay? And we would have taken a good training repetition and turned it into a bad one. Okay, all right, that's very good. Okay, Georgie, so go ahead and go put her on the table, and I'm gonna come over your mimic table, and then we're gonna try to make them sit right beside each other. So give Georgie time to get his dog up on the table, and see if he can get her to sit. Very nice. Come on, Justice. And then I'm going to walk up here with Justice beside her. Very nice. Now guys, Justice, I'll see if I can find some video on her, but when she first got here, all she did is pulled and barked and jumped, and they couldn't even walk her in her own neighborhood, you know. So I always laugh when people get these dogs and think they're getting a guard dog. What they're getting most of the time is a dog that they can't take outside. They're getting a dog that gets the HOA called on them. Stay there, nerd. And if you want to see a good dog, you look right over there laying down. Oh, I don't have to worry about him barking. I don't have to worry about him snapping. Like, all I got to do is make sure that I get him plenty of exercise. Look at this fidget box, you know. Like every time I try to, watch, she's liable to fall off. Oh no. Okay, so I'm gonna, I obviously am not gonna get much of a stay here on Justice, so I'm gonna stay right here for just a minute, love on Rojo a bit. All right, and then I'm gonna let my dog go. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Now, regardless of what I'm doing or my dog's doing, George's dog has to stay over there. Again, getting back to the whole point of having a protection dog. If you have a protection dog that only minds when every other dog around it's minding perfectly, well, all you're doing is walking around waiting for somebody to get dog bitten. So now we've come up to a local park where we can do some proofing. I have Millie, a wire-haired pointing Griffon, and Bear, a nice black Labrador Retriever that goes on a lot of adventures with us. The reason I brought these two guys with us to do proofing with Goose is because both of these guys are real friendly and outgoing, and we brought them so that they can kind of take the edge off of Goose's naturally suspicious kind of mindset, okay? So whenever possible, guys, if you have a high-strung dog, if you can kind of pair them up with a nice, low-key, confident, an outgoing dog, it'll really help you get out and get some remedial socialization work in. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of walk around the park here and put Goose in situations that she's liable to encounter when she goes home. Now, we're not 100% satisfied with Goose's training at this point, so we're going to just use my little girl as kind of a guinea pig, okay? And then once Goose is perfect around my little girl, then we'll get some little girls that we know from friends of ours, and then we'll gradually work our way out into the broader world of children riding bicycles. Okay, so we're going to get started right now. We're just going to kind of walk around and have my daughter do all the stuff that Goose is liable to see in her suburban lifestyle. Okay, good boy. Okay, Charlotte, now Georgie, come over here, and what we'll do first is just some basic bicycle proofing. See this line right here? Yeah. Get on that line, and you're going to walk backwards and forwards on that line so the cameraman can see you. Charlotte, you're going to ride circles around George. Now, listen, we got to be real quick with our reinforcement here, Georgie. There you go, nice. Ride kind of tight, right up past him, Charlotte. Very nice. Coming and going. Very nice. Okay. And turn and come back. And really what you're looking at is, you know how she used to would get really fixated and lunge as Charlotte would go by? Okay, watch her closely and try to make that reinforcement come at the point where you can tell she's making a hard effort at ignoring that temptation to chase and bite that bicycle. Now, again, guys, this is one of those situations where if you're working with your dog, it can be very frustrating because, you get kind of mad at them, you know, because they're chasing and biting kids on bicycles or skateboards or scooters or what have you. But the reality is, look, you bought what you bought. You bought a dog that's been selectively bred to chase and bite moving things. And that's why when you get a tug out, they'll chase and bite it. That's why when somebody dresses up in a suit, they'll chase and bite them. If you throw a frisbee or a tennis ball, they'll chase and bite it. okay? I mean, ultimately, you can't get mad at the dog for being the dog that you bought, okay? Now what we're going to do is, George's movement's going pretty well. We're going to try to come up here. I'm going to trade dogs with Georgie real quick. Let me see your dog, Georgie. You take mine. So what we're going to work on is getting Goose to, like, she's doing pretty good on the leash with George. We're going to try to get Goose to stay in a spot, and then I'm going to start to extend my influence by walking away from her, and if she does well for me, then I'll let George do it. So I'm going to ask her to sit here. Sit. So I'm going to ask her to sit on this line, and this is going to be kind of how we judge her, right? I don't want her to get much off of this line. So I'm going to tell her to stay, then I'm going to have Charlotte walk around her, or ride her bike around her. And then what you'll probably see is Goose looks at that bicycle and then she looks up at me like, hey, did I do a good job there? And I'm like, yes, you did. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to reward her, okay? Now Charlotte might stop, might go. Good. Go back that way and come right up beside her, Charlotte.
Like this?
Yeah, but back to there from the back. Now see right there, Goose did a good job. Now she's kind of shifting around a little bit here, but she's staying on this line. So I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to reward her, tell her to stay. And I'm going to turn this over to George. Okay. Now, once I get out of the picture, you might see Goose get up once or twice. And that's, you know, that's just kind of how it goes in dog training. People all the time, you know, they'll email me, or they're talking in my online class about how, you know, the dog will mind one member of the family better than the other, and that's for a variety of reasons. Okay, now Charlotte, you can't get so close that you run over her tail, okay? Yeah, give her just a little bit more space than that. You didn't hit her tail then, but you got kind of close. And you'll see George is struggling just a little bit more than me, okay? Now, what I would do here is I would actually try to line that dog up so that she has a paw on each side of the white line. Okay, let me show you, Georgie. Watch this. I'll show you guys a trick. As your dogs get better, sometimes it's hard, like if you don't have a lot of help, sometimes it's hard to, like, you know, set new goals in your training, because, you know, you're like, well, Stonnie, I'm getting my dog to sit, so am I done? Should I move on to something else? No, you can make a new goal within a behavior, okay? So see how I was talking about this line, and I wanted the dog to stay on the line? Well, each time I do this exercise, I might try to get her to stay in a more precise spot, okay? So look here, I'm gonna try to get her to where she has a foot on each side of the line. Let me back her up just a little bit. Now see, she's off to the side. Now this has no practical value, guys, like in terms of like long term, but in the short term it has a practical value of allowing you to know that you can really refine your ability to influence the dog. So I'm going to ask her to stay. Now she has paws on both sides of the line, pretty much, and then we'll see if George can maintain that. There's a million ways, guys, to go out and make a training like session a little bit more interesting. Charlotte goes straight back past her and then come right up past her on her side. So go back to those posts there and then come up behind her. Now Georgie, you better get ready here because you're liable to have to tell her to stay. That's perfect. And we want her feet not to move much past that line. Now this is going to be a hard test for her. Look. And so she moved a little bit, but that's pretty good. Okay, go ahead, give her a treat, but bring her back up a little bit. Now see how George is thinking about placing her? Let me show you guys how he made that mistake. George can't get the dog to move into place looking at her like this without physically placing her. And that's a valid technique. I mean, that's you can do it that way. But what I would do is I would probably kind of back up and restart a bit here. You know, I'd get me maybe a little treat here, and I would come up and walk back to my line and bring her there. Look. There. And that's not perfect stay. You can see one of her feet is touching a line, but it ain't too bad. You see what I'm saying, Georgie? Go up there a little bit, cameraman, so you can see her, like see her a little bit closer on that line. So that's our goal, is to keep her on the line. That was perfect, Georgie. So you want to give her a treat. And you should have started your motion just a little bit sooner. What you're looking for is for her to notice Charlotte and make the decision not to chase that bicycle. Your timing has to be really, really, really good here. Yes, right there. That was good. That was good. Now, Charlotte, go this way on the line. Come back along the line right here. Right there. And see, so like if you were using your clicker, you would click right as she notices Charlotte. You see her head kind of move, okay? But since you're having a little trouble with your clicker today, like you start your motion. Because the dog is being she's really paying attention. Start your motion. And see, I was a little big, and so you drew her out of position. This is where you really have to understand that dog training is an art. And that's why the marker training like really takes a lot of the skill that you need. Well, I guess the easy way to put it is marker training makes it easier. You don't have to have as much skill. Right there. I mean, you missed your, yeah. Good. Watch her out of the corner of your eye. You can see her head as she's, watch. There. Come around here to this other side, cameraman. All right, do it again, Charlotte. Yes. There you go. Good. One more time, and then we'll move on. And she lays down, we're okay with that because our primary goal for the day was for her to maintain a spot and like ignore Charlotte riding this bicycle. Okay, go ahead and grab her there, Georgie. Come on, Charlotte, we'll go over this way. Come on, Bear. All right, now look here, I'm getting some pulling. This Griffon has decided that we've been being still for long enough. But you're just going to get a little bit of pulling. Remember, I made that video not that long ago with these young dogs. Like if you think you're going to go out and walk very far and not get any pulling, that's just not going to happen, guys. Because the dogs are bored. You know, we're up here making a video, which is pretty exciting for maybe us, and maybe you're interested in the video. These dogs, they just want to go over here and play and carry on. Okay, so what other kinds of stuff are you liable to see, right? So Georgie, you're going to go over here and let me see. Go over here and get on the bleachers. And then Charlotte, you're going to run up and down the bleachers with your dolls. Okay, so these are the kind of things that you're going to, you're going to want to be able to take your dog somewhere. And the ballpark, who doesn't go to the ballpark every so often, or the soccer field? We all have to if we have children. And then if you don't have children, it's still a great place to socialize your dogs. Okay, so Charlotte, you're going to come over here and do the kind of stuff that children do. You're going to go up there and bounce around and be noisy on the bleachers, okay?
And play with your dolls. And
play with your dolls, that's right. Georgie used to play with his dolls up here all the time. He tries to act like he doesn't now. Okay, now I want you guys to think about what's going on here. These bleachers, these are kind of high-space bleachers, so a little bit harder for the dog to get up on. But you hear that noise? The bleachers are kind of like they have a different texture, a different noise. They're aluminum, so like they transfer vibrations very well. All this kind of stuff, like it really can upset a dog, And so George needs to be going a little faster with his reinforcement schedule here. What really is going to get a lot of you guys in trouble is that, like when things are going well, like you don't notice that the dog needs to be rewarded. Like everybody, the problem that as a human being, what you run into is the problem of what's called normalcy bias. So if things are going good, then you just think they're going to keep going good. And that is not true with this type of dog, okay? So like right here with Charlotte, kind of keep going. Just run up and down this thing, Charlotte.
This way?
Yeah. Okay, just move up and down them, please. Okay, I want you to move down to the bottom and then back up to the top and then back down to the bottom and then back up to the top, please. There you go. This is the kind of stuff that happens. you know, you're out and see, like right there, Charlotte, you know, like a normal adult person would just kind of get off of the bleachers. But kids, what are kids always doing? Kids are always jumping. They always have something in their hand. They're dropping food. They're, you know, they're just being kids, and kids are into everything, okay? Well, now, so in those cases where kids are into everything, of course, Goose, being a Malinois, she's going to want to get into everything too. So if it's something that's moving, if it's something that's like coming up behind her, if it's something that's kind of, you know, like not being very nice, she's going to have certain genetic reactions, and that can get you in a lot of trouble. So you have to go out and train in these situations so that there's nothing surprising, okay? Okay, now we'll move over here to the picnic table. So we have done a little bit of bike riding as it relates to, you know, getting out of your car and being in the parking lot, and that's big time important, guys. If your dog won't mind in the parking lot, then, you know, bad things can happen, real bad things. Then we went over and we practiced on the bleachers a little bit, and Goose did okay there. Now we're going to come and we're going to practice at the picnic table. Here, Georgie, trade with me. I'll do it first, and then you can do it. Now, whenever you go to practicing around picnic tables, you're going to have trouble, of course, because people come to the park and they have a picnic and then they just leave their trash around. So just expect whenever you go to practicing at the picnic tables at your local park to have to deal with some trash on the ground. So, you know, keep an eagle eye out for that. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sit down here at this table, and I'm going to pretend to be picnicking, right? So I'm going to pretend I got me a bologna and tomato sandwich, all right? And Goose has got to kind of hang out over here. I'm not going to tell her that she has to necessarily sit or lay down, but she has to be polite, okay? And then what do I run up on when I'm at the park and I have a bologna sandwich? Well, you know, maybe a little kid comes up and says, "Hey, sir, can I have some bologna?" And I'm like, "Sure, here's your hunk of bologna," you know? "You want some bologna, little girl?" You don't like bologna? See, that's the thing. My kids are too spoiled. They don't like bologna, right? Okay, now, so Charlotte, go ahead and ride your bike around for a second, and then come over here and talk to me and bring Raggedy Ann and Andy, and we'll have a picnic with those guys. Now, what I'm going to be doing every so often while Charlotte's riding her bike is I'm going to say, "Hey, Goose, I appreciate you sitting over here and being calm, attentive, and polite." Okay? She's not chasing Charlotte. She's not trying to chew on any of that stuff that the previous picnic table users have left out here behind me. Okay, Charlotte, now you come on over here. And, well, wait a minute, actually, you keep riding. Georgie, you trade with me. So, Goose, you stay there. I'm going to let George, sit. So I'm going to let George come over here and handle Goose while he pretends to picnic and eat a bologna sandwich. And Charlotte's going to go over there and take Raggedy Ann and Andy. Okay, Charlotte, go over and pull up there by the tree, lean your bicycle against the tree. There you go. And then do what kids would do. You like pet Goose as you walk by. And George, now you got to be on point to reward if Goose takes Charlotte's petting and she doesn't nip at her or scratch at her or lick her face or anything bad. Can she join your picnic, Georgie? Yes. Okay. Now, so Charlotte, come around Goose and come over here and face Georgie. And see that right there. You see, if you back up just a teeniest bit on that video right there, you can see Goose's mouth make just a slight movement towards Raggedy Ann. but she did a good job of checking herself. Hey, Charlotte, take your doll and walk around kind of flinging it like you do behind Goose again. You guys watch real carefully, because this is, can you imagine you're out at the park eating your bologna sandwich and your Malinois steals some kid's Raggedy Ann doll, you know? Now, y'all remember from the first video, anything that was moving, okay, go ahead and do it again, Charlotte. Anything that was moving, Goose had to chase and bite. And right there, she's looking at that, what she considers a retrieving or tugging item, and she just made a decision. You see that? She saw the retrieving or tugging item, at least from her perspective, and she said, "Oh, that's right, I'm supposed to ignore that in this situation and let George reward me." Now, guys, whenever you're training a dog in like kind of a stressful situation, sometimes you'll see them scratch like that, okay? What else you'll see them do is yawn. They'll stress yawn or stress scratch, or sometimes they'll lay over on their belly. And what that lets you know is that they're in conflict, okay? And the reason Goose is in conflict right now is because she really kind of wants to chase and snatch up Raggedy Ann and tear her head off, but she knows she's not supposed to. And so George says, well, you can't. And she goes, okay, I won't. And George says, well, I appreciate it. And she says, well, it's not too bad a deal. Okay, go ahead and sit down there. And George, pretend like you're fixing Charlotte a bologna sandwich. Or salami. And now, what else might happen at the park? Do you see how Bear kind of came up there? It might be dogs running around doing different stuff. Very nice. Come on, Bear. All right, that's great. Now let's head over to the playground, guys. Watch out. Okay, Georgie, now post your dog up right here. Charlotte, you come get in the swing. Now, you sit in this swing right here. Okay, now what I want you guys to take from this exercise is, remember I was telling you about the bicycle, that like it's perfectly understandable why these you know, these working dogs, these Malinois, Dutch Shepherds, some working bloodline German Shepherds, chase things that move. You know, they literally are bred specifically to have those qualities. And so you can see it, like, you know, dogs chasing bicycles, dogs chasing skateboards, dogs chasing scooters. And like a lot of people do a good job with kind of, you know, like desensitizing a dog to those particular activities. But one of the most common problems that you have if you have a young family and one of these types of dogs is swinging. Okay, now watch that wire hair pointing Griffon. It's going to learn a little lesson here itself. Don't get into swinging. But basically what happens is when you go to swinging a child, this is almost exactly like taking a tug and swinging it in front of Malinois, right? Now, especially as you go to swinging your child higher, what do they always do? They start squealing and going higher, higher. Do it, Charlotte. Do it, keep doing it. That's what happens. They laugh, and as they laugh, and like squeal a little bit, Charlotte. We'll see if we can get her to, yeah. Now what I'm doing here is just a basic desensitization exercise. So George should be a little bit faster on his reinforcement there. Now walk her up just a little bit, Georgie. Now when you're doing this kind of exercise, guys, like make sure you're doing it with your own kids because you're going to mess up at least once or twice out of every 100 times. And you're going to have some ripped boots or some ripped Lulu pants or something. Very nice. Okay, all right, now just walk in front of her, Georgie, and then come back. Now George is trying to time it. I don't know that he necessarily needed to time it, but that's okay. There you go, good. Very nice. What? I'm gonna whack George with Charlotte. Watch out, Bear. Very good, Georgie. Very good. Keep going. Oh, and Bear just got blasted with some pink boots. All kinds of lessons are being taught today. Very nice. Perfect. Now I want y'all to think about, like, remember from the first video when Goose would get so crazy about the retrieving item, okay? She's the exact same way. I mean, Charlotte looks literally like a retrieving item. If in Charlotte's hands are a Raggedy Ann and a Raggedy Andy doll, and so what's the difference between that and the canvas dummies that we use? Okay, nothing, absolutely nothing. What's the difference between, you know, the fabric on Charlotte's clothes and the fabric that's on the, you know, the tug toy that we use? I mean, one of them's jute and one of them's cotton, but it's very similar. So from the dog's perspective, right, the dog is really having to work hard to categorize Charlotte in the proper place. Okay, now let's move over to the slides. Good. All right. So Charlotte, you're going to run up through the playground equipment and then come down the slides. Here, I'll hold Raggedy Ann and Andy. So I am granddad now to Raggedy Ann and Andy, and Charlotte is going to come over here and go down the slide. Very nice. And if the dog ignores Charlotte, George is going to reward her. Go over and stand on the other side, Georgie, so they can see you. Now stand real close to the slide. Very nice. Now, Charlotte, go ahead and squeal and squall like kids always do. There you go. I want to hear you party loud. All right, now you see right here, like, so what's happening here is like, as that wire-haired pointing Griffon went by, it was dragging its lead, okay? And so when it started dragging its lead, Goose saw that lead moving and wanted to come over here and snag it up. That's what, I'm telling you guys, that's just what you're gonna run into. And you have to practice. Never, when you have this type of dog and you're training it to be a protection dog, knock this stuff out and make sure you've done an effective job at desensitizing the dog to the types of stimulation that will get the dog in trouble. I can't make this point often enough. A protection dog is of no value if it's a liability. No value. Go ahead, Charlotte, one more time. All right. Very nice. Okay, all right. Well, and that kind of wraps up our little desensitization session. And so now we'll go back to the kennel. Go ducks. Okay, for those of you who have been following along with the series, by now you've kind of probably figured out that the biggest problem with these dogs is that they do not come with a pre-programmed on and off switch, and it can be challenging to find the requisite amount of training time to develop a good on-off switch. I mean, that kind of seems to be a common comment in the YouTube video comment section is, you know, Stoney, I got a dog like this and it's great on the training field, but how do you get it to calm down in the house, or, you know, what have you? All right, well, for those of you guys who kind of struggle and life gets in the way of having the perfect amount of training time, which translates into training volume, and you've heard me talk about that a lot before, training volume is the key to a professional dog trainer's productivity. You know, when a dog comes here for training, I use the same techniques that I'm teaching people. It's just that we get a lot more volume per day. So like a dog spending a few weeks with me, the total training volume over, say, a 3 or 4 week period is similar to the training volume over a 6-month period for a person who's not doing this for a living, who or maybe doesn't have access to a facility like mine, or have access to as many dogs as I have access to, and you know, people coming and going, right? You got to realize I kind of cheat, right? I mean, I've got well socialized dogs and dog-centric people coming all day long, so it's pretty easy for me to stack up successful repetitions, and stacking successful repetitions is how dog training progresses, right? I mean, regardless of the methodology that you choose, really ultimately all dog training tries to end up getting the dog in the habit of behaving a certain way, because habit is the strongest motivator of all. So, like, you know, people ask me these specific methodological questions, and from my perspective, they're not particularly important. As long as you're competent at your chosen methodology, just stack those repetitions together and you're going to create habit, and then habit is self-reinforcing. So this is a concept we refer to as micro sessions, okay? So for those of you who have this type of dog who really, you know, who really struggle with the fact that the dog gets excitable and they're hard to control, you can develop an on-off switch by doing multiple micro sessions of 1 to 3 repetitions per day, where you tie access to a high drive impulsive behavior like chasing and biting to calm, attentive, and polite behavior. So let me show you how that works in real time. You guys just pretend that you're a client, you're out here talking to me. Now, I've already let you in on how this game works, and I'm, you know, I'm lucky because everybody that comes out here wants to help me, so I know it's going to be harder for you guys, but this is really cool, right? So I'm talking to you. Now, while I'm talking to you, what I want this dog to understand is I'm doing what we call adult stuff, right? And we kind of have the same rules for children and dogs. When the adults are doing the adult stuff, then you sit over here and be calm, attentive, and polite, and wait to speak until you're spoken to, right? And it's simple, old-fashioned dog and kid raising, okay? And it works 100%. Don't let any communist tell you different. So my concept here is that, like, this dog is learning to wait patiently, but out of her own self-interest, right? I'm giving her a certain amount of autonomy to make things happen in her, you know, that are going to work out to her advantage, okay? So she's sitting there being calm, attentive, and polite. Now watch, I'm going to shift my attention, present the tugging item, tug with her for maybe a minute, And then I'm going to try to take my attention and bring it back to you guys. And theoretically, what should happen is that the dog should see my attention, go back to my client, back to the other dogs, or back to whatever activity I'm doing around the house or at work, and should politely let go of the tugging item and go back to being calm, attentive, and polite. Now that's how it should work. And it will work like that after some amount of repetition. It could be 100 repetitions, it could be 500, it could be 1,000, but I promise this micro session approach helps you get up to those high count numbers really pretty quickly, because it's hard to carve out enough time to do 20 reps, but it's not so hard to squeeze in 20 sessions of 1 to 2 reps, okay? So watch what happens here. She's being calm, attentive, and polite. She's really doing great. I'm super proud of her. Now watch my attention. Goose, oh my gosh, oh, you're the best dog in the world. Now Goose has become the center of my universe. She's the most important thing in my life right now. Oh my gosh, Goose, we're having such a big time. Oh, I love tugging with you. You're so special. Okay, just like with your children, when you're playing with your children, they should feel like the most special things in the whole universe. Oh my gosh, you're a great dog. Oh, very nice dog. Very nice. I act like I'm beating her. Right? Now watch. The essence of making these micro sessions work is this. I'm going to take my attention, I'm going to take it away from the dog. So as soon as the attention goes away from the dog and back to you guys, now she knows that that session is over. And you might say, well, Stonnie, your micro session is over, but she still has the tug. Well, remember I told you this takes a certain amount of training volume, okay? This is what we call a have your cake and eat it too problem, okay? For those of you who have little kids, you know what it's like to fix them a birthday cake when they're 3, and they're like super excited about the cake, and then they start crying when you cut into it, see? Because they want to have their cake and they want to eat it too, and they can't have both things. So see this dog right here, she wants to keep access to this retrieving item, but she knows I won't play the game with her unless she's calm, attentive, and polite. So she wanted to spit that out so that I would go back to actively tugging with her, because it's no fun to be the only person doing any moving and fighting. They want to struggle against you. They want to have fun with you. You wouldn't want to play basketball against somebody that wasn't trying. Well, the dogs don't really want to play tug with somebody that's not trying, okay? So my signal, instead of like barking a word at her or being concerned about the particular words, my signal is simply taking my attention away from the dog and directing my attention back to something in my environment. It could be a client, it could be some other dogs, it could be working on the truck, or my kids come up, whatever it is, right? And as soon as she let go, now we're back to playing that game. I've given her the autonomy to be able to make this tugging happen again, but it happens as a result of her being calm, attentive, and polite. So I'm going to demonstrate that one more time. She's doing exactly what I want. And you guys think she's just being calm. She's really like struggling there, okay? And what's in her mind is that she's manipulating me right now, okay? And I'm perfectly fine with being manipulated. That doesn't bother me a bit. If I go to a restaurant and somebody gives me super great service in order to manipulate me to give them a good tip, that's a heck of a deal. I'm about that every single day, okay? So I'm gonna let this dog manipulate me into playing tug, and I'm gonna be happy that I've kind of manipulated her into being calm, attentive, and polite. We're gonna meet in the middle. That's what we call a mutually beneficial exchange, okay? So watch. Attention goes away from you, back to the dog, and she gets what she wants. I get what I want. Everybody's happy. 360-degree wind. Goose. Oh my gosh, very nice. Very nice dog. Very nice dog. Very nice. Very nice dog. Oh, big bad dog. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's a very good dog. Very good dog. Oh, very good dog. Now my attention goes away from Goose. That is the end of my micro session, and comes back to you guys. We have a little bit of a cake and eat it too problem here, but every day that problem will get a little better, Well, okay, it might not actually get better every day, but it'll get better, say, every week or so. Now watch, I gotta be dead here. Now the key, guys, super patient, super dead. I'm really banking on the fact that this is not a fun game to play by yourself. Listen to that. And then when you listen to that, think about a kid crying as you cut into their birthday cake, because that's exactly what's going on. She's not trying to be mean to me. She's not trying to make my day, be a bad day. She just really likes tugging, and she can't for the life of herself, understand why I don't want to just keep playing tug for hours at a time. Okay, it's really hard when you have a high drive dog to make them understand that you can't do they can't do what they were bred to do all the time. Like I can't say this enough times. You can't be mad at the dog for being what it is. Now, I'm not telling you to accept that behavior, but I'm telling you to understand it. There's all kinds of things in the dog world that are understandable but unacceptable, and hanging on to that tug is one of them. But like, be firm, fair, and consistent, but don't get mad, because when you get mad, that tension will go right down your body, through the tug, into the dog, and you're never getting it back, So the last time I'm going to show you, my attention's going to go away from you. It's going to go to the dog. I'm going to play tug, and then I'm going to take my attention away from the dog, and hopefully she'll let it go. Ready? Oh my gosh, very good dog. Very good dog. Oh, very tough dog. Very tough dog. You're a tough dog. Okay, so there's my micro session. My attention has to go back to something in the environment. Tug goes dead. I wait and let her work through this and figure out for herself that this is a situation where she has a certain amount of autonomy and control, and there's no reason to freak out about, fighting over this tug, because the way to get me to go back to playing is by being calm, attentive, and polite. There we go. And now if I did my job right, she'll probably lay down and chill out here in a minute. And when she does, I'm going to calmly walk off and calmly put my retrieving item up, and we'll all be happy, All right, now we'll go do something else fun. Oh, you a smarty goose. Now George and I are going to spend a little bit of time working on one of our adventure trailers. I think this is a perfect opportunity to show you the concept of the micro session protocol in action. All right, so basically what's happened, George and I have our tent set up, and we've been making some modifications. Last year we had this trailer set up a certain way. Now we've taken it apart and we're putting it back together a different way. I mean, that's basically what we're doing. That's what guys do, right? Take stuff apart, put it back together. All right, now, if you guys will remember from especially the first and second video, whenever George had a retrieving item, turn around and show me your retrieving items, Lexi would just go crazy trying to jump up there and bite them and stuff, okay? And so we worked and worked and worked on helping her develop some impulse control. And this micro session protocol really, it really helps you get in those reps during the day when it's hard to block out big periods of time. So George and I are gonna sit over here and we're pretending to work on the wagon so we can make this video. And then periodically, George is going to just spring into action. He's going to change his vocalization and his posture, grab his tug, and he's going to tug with Lexi for maybe 1 to 3 minutes, and then he's going to go dead. And when Lexi lets go of the tugging item, he's going to put it back onto the trailer, and we're going to go back to working on the trailer, okay? So it's a really simple training protocol, guys. You just pretend, or actually once you get the hang of it, you're actually just going through your day doing your normal, your normal household or adventure activities. And then periodically, when your dog is super calm, attentive, and polite, you present your tugging item. And then the pattern that you teach is that the dog can manipulate you into producing the tugging item as a result of being calm, attentive, and polite. And so see how we're tying impulse control and the tugging together, okay? And this exercise, trust me, as we go on in the series, will have a big effect on how much control you have over your dog when it's doing bite work. Because remember what I was telling you about the have your cake and eat it too problem, right? Dogs bite things and then they don't want to let go because they don't want, they don't want to lose it, but at the same time, they do kind of want to go ahead and play the game again. All right, and so if you extrapolate past that, past the game point where they're really in a fight and they're really emotional, if they don't have a lot of repetitions of, you know, like controlling their emotions and calming down and being attentive and polite, then you're not going to have any control. And again, a guard dog, a protection dog, a police dog without any control is of no utilitarian value. All right, so we go to working on stuff. Maybe we're measuring. Maybe we're tightening some stuff up with a socket and a ratchet. Okay, and at some point when Lexi's laying over there being super chill, George all of a sudden grabs his retrieving item and goes into crazy tugging with her. Go, Georgie. Very good. And he fights with her for about a minute. Really, go over here, Georgie, and really make it interesting for her. Come over here closer to the wagon. Good, very nice. Oh, good dog, good. Yeah, up and down, up and down. Come on, good, good. Really fight with her. Oh, good dog, good dog. Spin her around there. You got to do some more squats, son. I had to call Louis Simmons, get you in shape. There you go, very nice, very nice. Now come over here close to you. Now this would be say 1 to 3 minutes depending on your dog's you know, natural tendency to be able to tug and its experience level. All right, and then all of a sudden George is going to simply go dead. Okay, turn around so they can see you, George. And it's just going to go dead and it's just going to wait. And this is going to take however long it takes. But the idea here, again, just like with Goose, is that the game's not much fun to play if nobody's playing back. And when Lexi lets go of it, George is going to place his tugging item back on the wagon, and we're going to go back to working, okay? So we go back to adjusting, to measuring, to maybe George is going to get up in the tent. Go ahead and get up in the tent, Georgie. Just doing all the stuff that you would normally do. Now see how Lexi's excited? She's following him around. She's looking at his tugging items, okay? But he's completely ignoring her because he's doing his work, okay? Now, here in a second, George will come back out, and this might be 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour later. Who knows how long it is? Just however long you want to stay in your tent and hang out. All right, Georgie, come on back out of the tent. And George is going to go back over to his spot. We'll put him in the front here so maybe you guys can see him a little better. Come on out of here. Now, see, Lexi is kind of still fired up. She's still thinking about like tugging. Look, she's going to go up there and try to steal his tugs. And then maybe she's going to sit here and she's going to look at George and she's going to say, well, what about this, like this real focused sitting, George? If I do that, can I manipulate you into playing tug with me? But that's not actually what we're after in these types of micro sessions, because this here, this focused attention, right? Okay, she's still in that conflict zone where she's like being good, but she's ready to spring. Okay, we want to get her to totally relax and to kind of just lay down and chill, and then we're going to bring in the tugging item. In other words, we want like really low heart rate, really low respiration rate. We really want her to like settle down to the max, okay? If she was, oh, dang, nice. Go ahead, Georgie. Present your tugging item. So George gets her. He's going to tug with her. Good, very nice. Now, what's going on here, guys, like how this is related to the protection dog training, okay, obviously, of course, like, you know, Lexi doesn't feel like she's fighting with George, but what she is doing is, like, she's getting these basic motor patterns down. She's developing jaw strength, and George, like, he's developing core strength, too. Like, George is a good wrestler. But like, so some of these positions are pretty familiar to him, but like it's just weird the way the dogs pull and turn, and you have to learn to be able to manipulate the dog in such a way that like you bring the dog through the basic mechanics of a fight, okay? But you don't twist their neck too much. You don't let them get discouraged. So a lot of just little stuff that goes on here, and you kind of got to learn that in person, you know. But George is doing a great job, and Lexi's doing a great job. So now George is going to go dead, and don't even look at her. Go dead, like look at the camera or something. Now the more still you can be here, guys, the better. Okay. Some of you, this is going to work real fast because maybe the kind of dog you have is not like super drivey. Some people, listen, some people are just really good at this. Some people can just like, they just get so dead and be so still, like the dog just feels that strength in their body and goes, well, this is a never win. If you are kind of new to the game, or if you're a little bit smaller, your dog will try to bully you, you know, and if the dog tries to bully you, then just, you know, just like, listen, hit those weights, you know, get a little stronger and be a little bit more patient, a little bit more persistent, a little bit more consistent. All right, so now George's gonna go back to working on the wagon. He's doing whatever he's doing. And we're gonna let this dog, she'll probably follow him around at first. She might go over there and try to get underneath his, his jacket and grab a tugging item. She might try to sit. Yeah, go ahead and go around that cameraman. She might try to sit and look at him, but see that focus? Okay, guys, that's where most of you will present your tugging, retrieving items, okay? And that's good, I mean, it's okay. It gives you a dog that can kind of stay in that conflicted, focused state. All right, but what we're going to try to do here is like really play this out for a long time and let Lexi like get complete control of herself and go over there and lay down. If this takes a real long time, I'll cut right here and speed up or something, you know. Now come up here by your retrieving item, Georgie, by where the, and just kind of stay there for a minute and get pretty still. That'll make this go a little faster. And you'll see right there, she walked by the tugging items and she kind of looked at them. And now she's looking up there on the wagon thinking, man, what if I just jump up there and steal that? What if I steal it out of George's pouch? Okay, this is what's going through her mind. And we're just trying to let her know, look, there's no stealing, there's no getting over on us. The only way for you to access that retrieving item or tugging item again is to like really settle down and act like you got some sense. Go ahead and act like you're working on something, Georgie. Now, see, if you glance over at her like that, Georgie, then every time you glance over at her, that's going to reset her, and she's going to think you're getting ready to present that retrieving item or tugging item, okay? So you got to ignore her and watch her out of the corner of your eye. Guys, as a professional dog trainer, one of the most important physical attributes that you will ever develop is your peripheral vision. You really need to be able to watch a dog out of the corner of your eye and to be able to know everything that's going on. Okay, now Lexi has run off to do something. I'm sure she'll be back in a minute, but she's probably run off looking for a stick or looking for her own item to play with. And that's the way these videos go. It's never perfect. But so we're gonna just kind of wait. I'll speed this part of the video up. She'll be back eventually. All right, now I'm gonna have to come back over here and help Georgie because Lexi ended up circling around and coming sitting over there by me and the cameraman. So I'm gonna come over here and we're gonna go back to acting like we're working. And we're gonna watch Lexi just out of the corner of our eye. And at some point, she's gonna lay down. Now, so here's the thing, guys. In this video, I don't need you to fake it. I just need you to go actually do some activities, okay? And when you go to really doing the activities, the dog will know. And then as a result of, getting control of herself, getting her respiration rate down, getting her heart rate down, then she's going to be able to access this tugging item again. This is the essence of developing a sense of autonomy in the dog, where the dog really understands that it doesn't have to be hectic to get what it wants. It doesn't have to be worried about getting in trouble to get what it wants. All it has to do is just kind of chill out and wait for, wait for good things to happen. So I'm going to move over this way, and George is going to get his retrieving item, and then he's going to change his vocalization and posture and tug with Lexi. Good, very nice. Now right there, George should have done a little bit better job with his presentation. With the tugging item, you see how the dog kind of ended up biting it kind of weird and had to re-bite it. Okay, so one of the things I really want you to understand, guys, is when you're doing these games, when you change your vocalization and posture and you come into play, remember from video 1 or 2 where I showed you how to present that tugging item, you had to make sure you help the dog get a good bite, because what we want is the dog to get in the habit of jumping up and taking a very accurate bite and grabbing hold of this material with what's called a full deep grip. We want the dog to reach back there and get those back teeth on that jute and hold on really well. Okay. So George presented the tug a little weird. You can back that up and you'll see what I'm talking about. The dog ended up re-biting and getting a hold of it pretty good, and so it ended up working out okay. So George has been tugging with her. Now George is going to go dead. Gonna look at the cameraman. And this dog, that's our, have your cake and eat it too problem right there. And George is just going to wait it out. Now, don't make those little micro movements, Georgie. Wait, there you go. Now come over here and go back to doing your work. All right, now we'll do that one more time. Now, guys, this would have happened over the course of maybe, X amount of hours. We're just kind of trying to speed it up so that you can see it as an example, okay? Now, concerning those things I was telling you about how the dog's supposed to bite, there's a lot of videos out there of guys who have really strong, athletic, hard-hitting dogs that show you, what a good bite looks like, how to absorb the bites, and the types of body mechanics that, elicit those reactions from the dogs, okay? Again, the point of our video series is kind of fill in the holes and to provide my son with a basic foundation so that he can go to work for somebody that does this for a living and be useful right off the bat, because guys, I get a lot of emails, people ask me about getting in the dog business. If you want to get in the dog business, there's just a few things that you have to be able to do. You have to be able to show up on time every time, okay? And you have to be useful, right? Okay, so like my son, he knows a little bit about dogs and he will show up every time on time and he'll be useful in every situation, right? So if you want to get in the dog business like George, then you gotta don't worry about the dog so much. Worry about showing up and doing what you say you'll do. No extra, no less, okay? And don't take any sick days because there are no sick days in the dog business. Is there, George? Nope. Kennels have to be ran on time all year long. There's no oh, it's Christmas or it's New Year's or whatever. We're gonna just not fool with the dogs. This is a lifetime commitment type activity. I'm gonna walk away again because I want to try to let George do that on his own. Hopefully Lexi won't follow me. All right, so George goes back to doing whatever. And remember earlier with the static pass-by drills where like George trying to extend his influence over Lexi, I try to do the same thing with George. So, I stay close to him and then as he starts to understand a task or a methodology, I back away and I let him, have more autonomy in that situation. Like a big problem you make, like say with your first child or your first dog, you overdo everything. You think you got to micromanage, No, teach them the broad outlines and then let them work. All right, Georgie. Good girl. And again, George did that same thing with his tug. His vocalization and his posture could have been a little bit more interesting, and his tug presentation was the angle of his tug wasn't very good. And so the dog wasn't able to take a good initial bite. So you can back that up and pause it and you can see that mistake that George made and then videotape yourself and see if you don't end up making that same mistake a lot. We all do. All you can do is every day try to do a little bit better. So George is fighting with her. I'd like to see a little bit more vocalization, a little bit more action there, Georgie. Rawr, 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 rawr. There you go, right, yeah. Sell it, dude, sell it. Sell it. When you're all dressed up, you look the part, you got to act the part. Very nice. Good. Very good. Very good. Go up there a little bit close, Mom. Kind of spin your dog so they can see the bite, Georgie. She got a pretty decent bite. Oh, there you go. Good. Very nice. Very nice. Good. Good. Very nice. All right. Now, get dead. Now, 3 or 4 times now you've saw whereas George end up trying to get dead, just the way the dog positions herself, she pulls George and she kind of pulls George onto her foot, and you will hear her kind of go, "Arr!" Okay. That's one of those common areas, guys, when you're playing tug with these dogs. They'll pull you to where you kind of take a side step and end up stepping on their foot and they'll bite you on the leg. So be very careful about that because they're not really biting you because they don't like you. They just kind of, when you step on their foot, they freak out for a second. All right, now we'll end this video by being patient and waiting for Lexi to chill out and lay down. Now you might be able to see over there coming down the hill, my neighbor's on a 4-wheeler, and that'll kind of probably catch Lexi's attention. She'll have a harder time laying down because she's going to want to investigate that. You might be able to hear it on the microphone. You can hear my neighbor singing. Only in Kentucky. Which this does bring us to a good protection dog skill, guys. Like, and we're going to talk about this a lot. That's one of the reasons we've got the wagon out fooling with it. We're going to go camping with these dogs and take them. You can see her listening and learning. Like a lot of times when you're camping, like your neighbors might be singing, they might be drinking a little bit, they might be smoking some of that wacky weed or something, you know, who knows what they're going to be doing, barbecuing. And you got to know that this dog that you've got a lot of money and time and energy tied up in, it ain't going to leave your campsite or your little area and go over to somebody else's area, you know. Look at her, Amy. You see how she knows she's not supposed to go over there and chase the four-wheeler anymore, but like she's really struggling with it. All right, well, I don't know if we have the time to wait till she lays down, because you guys are probably getting bored with this part of the video. So we'll wrap it up, and I will see you guys next week.